Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hillside Garden, and today is going to be a nice March pepper update. So yeah, a couple episodes ago I showed you where I started a whole bunch of peppers. Well, these are the results of dividing them up, and just show you a little tip here. This is why you don't need to spend a lot of money with elaborate growing setups. Now this is just an old shelf I have right here, so I sit on top of a desk, and inside of this, excuse the glare, there's just one grow light that fit perfectly inside there that is actually just being supported by two books. So it just sits in there on top of two books, nothing fancy. These peppers are loving it. They've probably tripled in size in the last couple days. So that being said, just kind of give you a little rundown of what's going on in here. This here is the Mal's Red. I got a Chihuahua Rojo, is that rare pepper from Mexico. Corbashi. This is a Jay's Peach Ghost Scorpion, I believe. Ashi Kamiri. It's a little like that European pepper. It's like a lot of red with like corking on it. So that's cool. And in the back here, I mean, there's so many different kinds. I'd have to find the labels back here for you guys, but there's Sugar Rush Peach right there. I can read the label on that. And there are just a myriad of all these things. The Charleston Hot, but these are all just hot peppers. And I've started them extra early. I've transplanted them into their individual cups where they will stay for another month or so till it gets ready to go outside. So that being said, as they get bigger, of course, this little growing space in here is not going to be sufficient. They'll have to be moved out to a place where they can get bigger. But if you do it right and you plant things out in succession, as these plants here become too big and they start, getting up against the light right up in there, these guys will move out, and then my second wave, which would be my sweet peppers that don't take nearly as long to get established, so you don't want to start them as early as you would a hot pepper. These guys will be moved out, and the next tray of the smaller sweet pepper seedlings will come in here and kind of keep a rotation. So if you're limited on space, this is something you can look into doing. Just repurpose an old shelf like this, put some grow lights on it or underneath, or prop it up, whatever you need to do. And you'd be surprised how much production you can get out of just a really small space. So with that being said, let me go upstairs and I'm going to show you some of my larger peppers that I've started that I'm going to need to top because they're getting a little too big and they're actually starting to bloom indoors, which is way too early, way too soon. So we're going to need to do something about that. So let me take you along and show you what I'm doing. All right, so upstairs now. Now look at these guys. These are my Hillside Surprise peppers. And I showed you these things as I started them very early in the season, just as something to get going. But as you can tell, man, these things are just huge right now. So they're in the windowsills and they're doing fine. But, they're going to be way too big by the time the season comes around. But one thing you can do with your peppers that I encourage is to pinching out the tops of them or cutting them back, however you want to call it, which will encourage more of a bushier growth, which will help actually buy you some more time while growing indoors in maybe a windowsill situation, as it's going to knock the plants down and it's going to take up less space for the time being, I will say, because they're not going to stay small forever. But if you see the leaves right here on this guy, were so big, we had some super cold nights, and I guess the leaves were up against the windowsill, and they did not like that, so they're kind of wilted down. So it's actually not a bad thing to cut it back at this point because it's just going to encourage you to get some more vigorous growth. But if you look here in the top, I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to pick this up. Right in there are the very beginnings of some flower buds, which we don't want this early in the season. And this one is a little better example right here. See right in there? Yeah, those little flower buds. We don't want that. But something that you guys may or may not know about growing peppers is they won't start putting on flowers until they form a Y. Okay, so what you're going to have is a single stem going all the way up. Then it gets to the point that it's going to start branching out into a fork. Okay, at that point, which is right in here, right there where it divides into two, that's where you're going to get the first buds. Okay, now as these guys grow up, this branch here is going to grow out. It's going to fork as well. When that branch forks, it's going to bloom. When that branch again forks, so it's going to go 1 to 2 to 4 to 8. It's going to exponentially just keep multiplying like that. That's how peppers grow. But sometimes you just have to hold your breath and say, you know what, it's for the greater good. Right about here, make sure you leave enough of the stem, enough of the healthy growth. This is the last leaf that wasn't damaged by the cold, so hold your breath. There it goes. That's how you do it, guys. Peppers are not going to die on you as long as you do it like this. Especially when they're young, they're going to recover. Same with this guy. That's got to be cut off. And you, sir, or ma'am, I'm not sure, you're done too. Okay, so that's 3 of the Hillside Surprise that have been cut back. And it's going to, like I said, encourage a lot of growth right in these little nodes right here. You're going to get little side shoots coming up, all these. So in the long run, you're going to get more production. So that being said, I do have a couple more, I think 2 more in a different windowsill that I'm not going to cut back, that I will use as an example for what to expect if you do cut back and if you don't, just kind of a side-by-side comparison. So with that, just a little tip right there, guys, how to extend your season and keep your peppers going inside without getting too huge. Cut them back. It limits them on size. It's going to help set them back just a little bit, buy you some time. It's also going to create more side branching, possibility of more and more pepper production at the end. Because as I said, the branches are all going to fork, and as they fork, they bloom. So if you have one single stem, it's going to bloom, it's going to fork, it's going to bloom, going to fork, going to bloom. If you do it like this, it's going to break off into multiple branches. Each of those will have their own forks and blooms. So potentially more production, but we'll see, like I said, side-by-side comparison, just so I show you what's going on. And just a little update on this guy here is doesn't look as healthy as the other ones, but this is that West African pepper I have. And it's kind of a little bit turning green right there. I think it may be from actually a little bit over watering because it has, same heat, but it may not be as well adapted to the cold, as it's not from this climate, as maybe as adaptable to this climate, I should be trying to say. But anyways, it's doing all right. So, but at this point, would I cut this back? Absolutely not. It's way too small and it's not as strong or vigorous. So a plant like this, you don't want to cut this one back because it could actually hurt the plant and actually stress it out to the point that it is not going to recover as well. So let me just show you one last time, a little better view now that it's off of the plant. Right in there, see these little flower buds starting to form? Yeah, that's what you don't want to have this early in the season. This is the middle of March, and these guys are not going out to the first week of May. So yeah, I started them way too early. I started these on January 1st. It's like my Hillside tradition. Just starting some seeds on January 1st, like I always do, just to do it. But it's cool if you have your own growing, like a grow room or a grow chamber where these guys can get as big as you possibly want. That's all right. I have enough room to start seeds and get the plants producing, but I don't have room for full-grown pepper plants. So this is what I'm doing. So there you go, guys. Just a little Hillside gardener tip about how to repurpose an old little shelf to get some seedlings going, and what to do if your pepper plants get just a little bit too big for the windowsills and start to bloom a little too early on you, which you don't want. Okay. I guess I could be said you could go in and pinch out the individual flower buds before they open, but that's just not going to really buy you much time. So that's actually just going to cause the plant to grow more and try to put out more blooms because it thinks that something's going on. The plant's in that blooming stage; it needs to continue blooming. So, I would advise against that. Plus, it'd be very tedious, and you can actually damage more leaves and plants, buds, and things like that as it goes along. So just cut them back. That's my advice for today, guys. So just a quick tip from the Hillside Gardener. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe, follow along, and leave some comments. I'll see you next time on the Hillside with some more plant updates. Take it easy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.